else wants the info later? Alrighty, so we're recording from Ashley's screen.
Okay.
And okay, reasons to go to grad school. Well, first of all, we're all here because we want a thing or two about grad school. We either want to go, think about going, or wonder what the hell is up with the deal. If we are up for the task or not, whether it's hard, can we afford it? Different other options. It could mean many things for you. More knowledge about a major subject. You want to do research or have an independent study that you would really want to progress on. Maybe it's if your aspirations require it, so that's a thing to look forward to. You just want to travel around the world because some research opportunities and some graduate schools do offer that, and can help you on that. Or just you want a career change, you didn't like your major, you want to go into something different, you're in STEM and you want to do English, that is an option. Graduate school really offers that for you. So next slide. But the wants and the needs are great, but can we afford it? That's a huge question that all students, ask themselves at the beginning of their search when it comes to research in general or just graduate school. Knowing whether you're going to be able to afford it, it's really difficult, and it brings a lot of stress in students, and some of them it does encourage them from actually doing the research, counting their options and pursuing it. I'm here to tell you that it's totally possible, whatever you are on the board, whether you are really financially stable or not, whether you're a broke college student like many of us are, or you have a family supporting you. If that's your case, then that is great. However, if it is not, do not feel discouraged. There is many options for you, as research and fellowships, they sometimes covered and sponsor you. TA positions, that is paid positions that you get to have within the institution that will offer you money in order to cover your basic needs. Again, paid internships, scholarships, and if you're really lucky, your company, if you start working, just hit the workforce and they need somebody more qualified and you're willing to step up, they'll pay for your graduate school, and you keep on working with the company, you get those two sides of the story, and it's great. So that's also something to keep in mind. Your work could pay for your graduate school. That's more for PhD programs, but sometimes you just hit the jackpot on that spot. So that's something to keep in mind. Next slide. Benefits of a graduate degree. Well, that is simple. The more educated you are in our society and growing, growing economy, a higher salary always means a safer, more stable life in many cases. So just having a more, more lines on your degree of education, it really benefits that possibility. It really opens up for you. Research and recognition. Maybe you just want to be the one that solves the mystery of coronavirus and just bring us a vaccine. So you go into research for that. If you want to do it, that's great. I would definitely be one of the many thanking you for that. Recognition. You just want to invent something new. You want to write something new. Maybe you're looking into writing about the intersectionality between race, gender in the Americas, or maybe in the UK, who knows? That is something to look into when it comes to graduate degrees, because it could really be of benefit to you to actually go into those sectors. More qualified positions, you just want to be better educated, have a better time understanding your peers, or just step up to the task. Maybe you'll open some doors for you in your education if you have a higher degree, and become an expert on a subject, because why not? Like I say, a higher level of education does come with a higher salary, and it does open up more jobs opportunities, as well as more doors for you socially and just in the class system that we live in. So yeah, things to keep in mind. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. I get nervous like any other student does, and I tend to speed it up with my talk. So if I'm chatting a little too fast, then let me know. More than happy to slow down. Alrighty, how to start thinking about graduate school, because it's not just a dream, it can happen, but we gotta start somewhere, right? So first of all, I would say start the recipe to success. However, we all alter recipes, and the outcome can be just as great. It's always to think about it between your sophomore and junior year, just so you have enough time to research it. Many do it your senior year, and that's totally okay. So just research, finalize a field if that's your interest, like law school. You need an LSAT? Do you need a GRE? Do you need a MCAT or I think one is BEC or something like that for teaching credentials? Correct me if I'm wrong. Just finalizing the field can really help you bring out the things that you need. And, you can start creating that little to-do list of like, oh, I need to take a test. I need letters of recommendation. Oh, I need to like look into this specific program or application process, the cost, and, making those to-do lists and, narrowing down those little steps that you need to take in order to really commit into a program, commit into a school, or just like on the thought of going into grad school are really important. So they tell you to start thinking about those things junior, sophomore year. Of course, if you're here, it's because you already started, are there, want to start, or at least interested, which is the important part of this process. And then summer before your senior year, this is when things get interested. This is when you should be taking your exams, preparing for them if not, thinking of school, application process, letters of recommendation, tests, post-bac exams and programs. I find that a little discouraging for our seniors because it doesn't really tell you that, hey, there's this thing called a gap year. We encourage it because it is healthy in some scenarios. If it works for you, it works for the schools because they do want better applicants, and maybe taking a gap year would be of benefit to you, then don't be scared. It's not highly talked about, but it's also not frowned upon either. It's definitely normal for many programs to take a gap year. So don't feel like if you don't go straight after college, you just won't do it at all. That's not true. And as counselors or just, peer advisors, we do encourage the gap years. And then your senior year, this is where things get real, when you actually have to ask for those letters, where you actually have to write those exams, and when you actually have to apply. So just keep that in mind. This is a little timeline that we like to give out, but it's nothing set in stone, and it is customizable for every student because every case is different. So just this is like certain like pointers just to start get you thinking and start looking at the big picture, because applying sounds fun, but when it actually comes to looking into the application process and all the little things, it might be a little intimidating. And it's good to think about all these factors ahead of time so that you can break them down into steps so they stop looking as intimidating as they might seem, because they're not. They're actually really simple once you actually break them down. So yeah. Next slide, please.
So, if you were thinking about taking gap years, here's some advice that we generally give. We would advise students to work in order to save for school, since we do acknowledge that graduate school is expensive, and taking the opportunity to work in order to gain experience in that certain field will also make your application stand out. You're also able to do volunteer work in the fields of your interests, and getting experience and either doing volunteering or working will also kind of solidify or help you decide what career path or what certain fields you really want to do. And also studying for the GRE, learning different test taking strategies would also help you during that gap year. Next slide. When writing letters of recommendation, you're able to have academic references. So usually those come from professors, preferably professors who have tenure, and also professors that you work with in certain labs or who do research. You're also able to get references from volunteering work or jobs or internships that you have. Make sure that they have enough information about you in order for them to write a strong recommendation. Ask in advance also, just to make sure that you're able to get the letter of recommendation on time. And if you do need, or if you want them to like know you more personally, you can also like suggest like, oh, if you want to read like my personal statements or my statement of intent, that also like give them a better idea of like who you are when you're asking for a letter of recommendation. Next slide. And then we have tips for the statement of purpose. Generally, we'd ask for authenticity, so write stories, not statements. Describe past, present, and future experiences that has shaped you. Be specific and use concise examples. Use a formal tone, but also conversational, usually in active voice. Decide how you want to portray yourself and learn how to portray yourself indirectly. Usually, sometimes they do have prompts, so follow all of the instructions, address any experiences that have shaped you or any challenges that you face. and you're able to customize your essays to fit the prompts. And always make sure to proofread, edit your statements in order to make them like in order for you to feel more prepared.
Wait, and Michelle, can we hear?
Sorry, I was muted. Alrighty. So, like we said before, we do offer like a little timeline. This is not a, yeah, fit all kind of thing. Like you will have your own little personal timeline depending on your program, career aspiration, own personal time frame. So don't feel like, damn it, I didn't start in May. Let me just quit because it's too late. Like it doesn't work like that. You can start at any given point and you might just, win the race. So just take your time. This is just a little suggestion, but it's not like when you were in high school, we're like highly suggested and it's actually required. Not at all. We just kind of throw it in there to give you an idea. That's all. So, okay, timeline 1.0. So you start in May, ideally, of your junior year. You search for potential programs. You take practice GRE just to know your vague understanding and how much preparation you will need, where you stand, how much how lost you might be. We're all there sometimes, and that's okay. You make sure you experience beyond the classroom. It's chosen on your field, meaning like if you want to go to med school, you're probably, a STEM major. If you want to go to grad school, you're probably a politics, legal studies, psych major because, that makes sense. However, let me tell you this right now. For law school, you can literally be a, biocell major and still want to go to law school. That's okay. They don't really care. For med school, things a little more specific, but I don't think they have it. Prove me wrong. I might be wrong, but I don't think they have a specific major thing. But they do have a little course thingy, I think. Off topic. Okay, so you follow preparation outside of your classroom. You just choose your field and you kind of follow those prerequisites if that's what you want. Important personal statement, potential recommendation. You start targeting those teachers in your head like, hey, I talked to that teacher a lot because we had a few classes with them. I like him. He might give me a letter. You start identifying those potential people that could help you and build that relationship if you don't have one. So that's where you start. Next, please.
Okay, so then next in our timeline for June and July, what you would be doing is you would request information from schools on your list. So remember, you would research schools that you're interested in and start asking for information from them. Communicate with undergraduate professors and potential recommenders about your plans. Ask advice about schools on your list and those you may have missed. What I recommend doing here also is going to your professor's office hours and start talking to them about their research and what you want to research and getting them an idea of what you're interested in. And then make a test preparation plan and register for the GRE. This could include test preparation courses as well.
And then through August and September, finalize which schools you want to apply to, research their requirements, any fees and deadlines, as well as the professors' names on whose research interests are also yours. Also, it's suggested to take the GRE test. You're able to register in September, October, April. Research financial resources, including merit-based grants or fellowships. Usually they're on the Princeton Review, and they also offer, or on the specific school's website, they also include certain financial resources that are available for their students. You're able to contact your potential financial aid, like the schools that you want to go to. You're able to contact their financial aid's office. And this is a time we suggest to begin writing your personal statement.
October, November. Okay, this is where things get a little more interesting because you start getting closer. Oops, let me not do that. Okay, you're getting closer to those deadlines. For most schools, it's usually in the winter quarter and fall quarter. So, it gets a little scary, but doesn't mean that it's too late to start if you haven't. So by this time, you have your test scores for all the schools which you're intent to applying. If you're not happy, you still have time to retake them because we do have those November dates for the LSAT and the, I think for med school though, that you might be a little late because I think it's only during the summer. Again, fact check me if I'm wrong. That's just what I read last time, but with the whole online thing, then you might not. This time when you start, delivering recommendation forms to your recommenders, it's good to give them a little bit more information as my coworkers mentioned, and you start filling out a grad school application. This will take longer than you think because they are nitty gritty and they are a little, a pain in the ass, if you will, because they do need a lot of specific information. They do have specific tests, and not tests, but like forms that you have to fill in, as in, questionnaires and stuff like that. So make sure you're giving yourself appropriate time. You're also a student. It's not like you just, unless you're in a gap year, then you have all the time in the world, right? Assuming your work gives you the time. But you're a student, so give yourself time, give yourself credit for the little effort, one day at a time. And then take note of financial aid deadlines. The schools might tend to have different deadlines from, like the college you attend to, unless you're applying to, the same school as a graduate student, then they might have the same ones, but it's a good thing to keep an eye on those because they do change. Like you said, every school is specific. Every school has their own deadlines and applications, so just keep an eye on the ones you chose and just put it all in the calendar because that way it's a little easier to track.
Okay, and then after that, what you would do is check in with your recommenders and make sure that they have all the information that they need. Make contact with students and professors at your prospective schools. Arrange a campus visit if you can. About that, I have friends who have what they've done is they contacted the school that they're like potentially thinking of going to and called them and asked if they could pay for part of their flight, and they usually are willing to do so. So before you make plans like that, definitely reach out to your schools and look into doing that. And then have someone in the field and a few smart and honest friends read over your personal statement. Take the GRE subject test. Make sure that your scores will be sent directly to your schools.
And during December, make sure to print out 2 copies of every part of your application, just so you know that you've submitted them for your records, and submit electronically or mail in all of the documents that you have to mail. So for example, like application forms, essay, transcripts, and other information, and verify that your letters of recommendation have been sent.
January, February, March. To qualify for financial aid, this is where the whole FAFSA exam comes in handy because this is where the applications actually, start to open. Fill them in as soon as January 1st if you can. They close in March, I believe, and they do have the whole correction period in June, but you don't want to be one of those waiting to the last second, so just fill them in as soon as you can. Most of you will be waiting. This just like when you were in high school, the whole waiting system, it's a recommend. Just you're waiting for those results. You're really nervous whether you did it wrong. Some of you might start getting some, little pointers whether you missed something in your application or not. So it's something good to keep an eye on your email and your personal mail box if you have one. Your applications have been submitted. This will most likely be the time for you to relax and enjoy what you can. However, do keep an eye on your email and stuff like that, because if you make a mistake in your applications, this is the time where they will tell you to correct them. So just keep an eye out for that.
And then so for April, you might want to consider appealing the aid packages of your school's awards. Wait, what? You might want to consider appealing the aid package your school awards you if the amount of money does not meet your needs. Basically, what that means is contact your schools if the financial that you got from that school isn't enough. Also, if you got into multiple schools, what you could do is tell the school that you want to go to what the other school got you, and they will most likely match it if it works for you, if they're willing. So definitely do that before you accept anything. Investigate applying for alternative loans if the financial aid packages still doesn't meet your needs. You can learn more about alternative loans by visiting princetonreview.com. If you did not get into any of your programs, call the professor you've been working with in that department and politely express your regret at not being admitted. Ask them if they can point out where your application was weak or give you some suggestions on how you might straighten your candidacy in the future.
So some example of graduate school programs are a Master's of Arts, Master's of Science, and PhDs. There's also a Master's of Research and a Master by Research. What's the next slide? there's also specialized professional master's degrees like an MBA, an MFA, an MLS, and others. Oh, and then there's a few more like the EMBA, EMS, and like a lot of different programs.
Honestly, if you don't know what half of these ones means, they probably do not fall under your field, so don't stress. It's not like you have to, have them all. Like, it probably doesn't even belong to your field of interest, so don't stress if you don't know what those acronyms stand for.
And so what was like mentioned earlier, like in the beginning of your process for grad school, you should go to the Princeton Review website. And this is where you could start looking up grad schools, and like you could make your search, like fix your search where it meets your like standards. And yeah, this is where you get all that information from. So you find your grad school, and it'll give you all their requirements and application deadlines and all that jazz. And then, yeah, there's a guide right here that you could also look through. This one's outdated though. Wait. Oh, here it is. Interesting. Okay. So then the GRE. So definitely look into if your program requires a GRE. If your social sciences, it most likely will. The test is done on a computer, but with COVID now, it's no longer in like person, like at a location. It's now going to be at your homes, and they're going to be using like a ProctorU thing. So personally, me with like test anxiety, I kind of prefer that. But definitely, what I would do now is set up your home, your room, or wherever you're going to take it, and start practicing how you would like take it yourself. And so what if so? So your GRE scores are valid for 5 years. So again, if like you plan on taking a gap year, this works out fine for you. Scores are retrieved 10 to 15 days after taking the test, so it's pretty fast. You could send to 4 schools for free, but you must know what schools before you take the test. And then the GRE could be taken up to 5 times a year, so make sure you keep that in mind. Once every 21 days. I did this already. My bad. Okay.
Alrighty, tips for success, as we like to call it. We always give like little tips about like looking where the alumni from those programs got jobs, because the program might sound really cool, nice and pretty, maybe have glitter and stars and all the nice things in the world. However, are those students getting jobs as their graduation? Same thing as you did with your college investigation and stuff when you were applying. Are people graduating? How many people graduate? How many people get employed after graduation? What's the, job based on those particular programs? You really want to look into that, because you don't want to, invest all this time and money just to be stuck with something that is not financially, rewarding. Like, it's not going to give you any rewards financially at the end of the day, because you cannot find a job with that specific program. So make sure you're bridging your expertise to the program through your application materials. Like, tell them like, hey, I might be working in a restaurant for the summer, but in that restaurant I learned communication skill, financial skill, time management skills. Like, even though it might seem like super far-fetched, you bring up skills that actually make you a better applicant by telling them everything that you have exceeded on. Like, you manage your time, your budget, you help with, customer service, you're good with working with people, you manage maybe a crew if you're a manager at, McDonald's. Like, you bring out your experiences, even if they might seem like they don't apply, because what is working in a restaurant like McDonald's going to be with grad school applications? Well, you might be surprised. There is skills in every little thing you do, so make sure you're bridging those. Bad letters of recommendation is worse than not having one. Let me tell you this, I always stress this because I cannot stress it enough. A bad letter, like let's say that the professor misspelled your name or call you a he if you're a she, because he just didn't care that much into proofreading it after writing it, can hurt you, because then they know that your relationship with that person is not as strong as you're making it seem like, and it impacts the way they see you in the matter and the fact that you cannot make proper connections with your staff or with your current professors. So that little things you think, that's far-fetched, like they're over analyzing it, they're probably looking into it, but they are going to look into it. They're going to look at how that letter is written, who wrote it, and what does essentially the letter says. So a bad letter of recommendation is worse than not having one. So make sure those relationships that you're building are actually, you know, relationships that you can actually get a letter from and not just superficial, you know, last minute, a month of notice kind of deal. Let them know, build those relationships. Those letters are the deal breaker a lot of the times, or the deal maker if it's a good letter. So make sure those relationships aren't shallow, and make sure that the letters are good. Have them make, you know, read them before you send them, kind of thing. Take your time in your research type, and then, you know, just the program itself. You don't want to be stuck with something that you actually don't like just because it sounded pretty. Review the program requirements and curriculum. Like I said, you know, the title of the program might sound cool, but if the classes have nothing to do with your interests, you're gonna hate being there. So just make sure you're doing your research. Feel free to contact admissions office, ask questions. You can also learn a lot from the websites. Don't be afraid to call. Honestly, annoying them and while you're like in the application process really works, because then they remember your name. It's like, oh yeah, this person has called like 20 times. I know they're interested. I know they're driven. I know they're, you know, just engaging with the admission office really helps, because it really tells them about what kind of student you are, and it really like kind of drills your name into their heads, and you know that might stand out at the moment, at the time when they have to read your application. So just reaching out, asking questions might help you. Things to keep in mind. Thanks.
And resources. So the Career Center does have drop-in hours. They're usually on their website. You're able to make an appointment. We're also available to make appointments through our Google form. And also EOP counselors, you're able to make an appointment with the EOP office either through phone, which the phone number is provided, or by emailing the front desk.
Alrighty, and I think we have reached the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for joining us. And now the little Q&A section starts. So if you have any questions, I'm gonna read the ones in the chat first. But if you have any other questions, just let us know. You can type them down if you're comfortable, or you can just, you know, spit them out, or you can unmute yourself and let us know. Let me read the first question though. It says, would you recommend taking the class to study for the GRE? I would say it really depends on your learning style. I would say a class would keep you a little bit more focus oriented and might help you open up like new ways of learning about the GRE that you might not do by yourself. However, don't think it's necessary. Not all students perform well under like the pressure of having somebody supervise their studies. So just, you know your style of learning, search for that. And yeah, it is of benefit to look into one. However, not necessarily, you know, mandatory for you to do well.
I would definitely recommend taking a practice test before you even consider that, though, just because you never know, you might be good at it already, but if you feel like you need more practice, then yeah, look into it.
Alrighty, anything that you would like to add, Esmeralda?
No, that was it.
Alrighty, so next question then. Would it be too late to get involved with research on campus in your 4th year? No, it's not. Never it's too late, because even if it's your 4th year, you can contribute something to the research either program or base or whatever is going on in that study. You can add something to it. You can, you know, take credit from it. Just being part of a program would be of benefit to you, no matter on your grade level. So no, I would say get involved, get started. It's never too late, and it can help in your application, because at least you have something else to add to your resume. All right, should we move to the next question? Yeah, all right. So the next one is from
Karen. Should you take the GRE even if your schools aren't requiring it, especially not during COVID? If your program doesn't require it, then you don't need to take it. But also keep in mind that like if your program does require it, but for that like COVID year, they're not requiring it. That makes sense. Just make sure that the year that you want to get in, they don't require it. Because like, let's say you want to take some gap years and then they do require it. Just be prepared for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And let's say that you apply for this year where they're not requiring it, but then you're only thinking of getting to the actual school like 2 years from now when they will require it. just take it now, because even though they're not gonna like use it this year, they will the year of your application. So yeah.
Also keep in mind that like they're doing Proctor U now. So if you feel like you benefit more from taking the GRE with like in your own home, consider taking it, because it's up to 5 years, I believe. But if you're fine with like taking it in person, then wait.
Alrighty, so if you want to go to grad school or something outside of your major, can you have your current professors, right? Yes, of course. Even if it's like I said, even if you're like a biochemical major and you're going to law school and you're like, well, what are gonna write about cells? Yes, like they're giving you a recommendation based on your performance, ability, qualities, personality, character, level of drivenness. Like they're giving you a recommendation based on you as a person, as a scholar. So it doesn't matter what your field of intern is. A lot of recommendation, if it's good, will help you in any field.
And then Samantha actually mentioned this thing that EOP does with the Magoosh. So basically, what you would do